Afternoon. Happy Monday to all of you. Welcome to Beyond the Veil. I am Adina, you guys' hostess and resident medium and woo lady, and just all around really cool person. Welcome again. If this is your first time here, I am a different type of platform. I am a medium. I do readings on this platform as well as shoot the shits with my busted baby friends. So if this isn't your thing, I completely understand. I only ask that you exit gracefully and with blessings from me. And if you are a return viewer and a busted baby of mine like JD in the chat, welcome. I'm happy to see you. Um, Blessings to you if you choose to stay. Happy Monday, JD. How are you today? I know that you are well because you're here. Hi, Mari. How are you this Monday? All right. Well, it looks like everybody's okay. Nobody said that they are bad. You're feeling well, about to head to work. Okay. JD, have a beautiful, blessed, prosperous, and abundant day at work. Yes, you ladies, my day is blessed. It's going okay. It will go even better if I can get my car back from the mechanic today because he's had it for a very long time, and I don't even want to get into that because it'll piss me off. But my day is blessed because I choose for it to be blessed. All right, well, I'm not going to entertain you guys too long right now because I am going to come back later and do another live when everybody's, off of work or when most people are off of work, and I'm going to do a members live. I'm excited about tonight's members live because we are going to continue our reclaiming series, but we are kind of going to start over. And I know that we were only one chapter into that series, but I want to restart the whole discussion from a new perspective simply because I have had a shift in my perspective in the past few days. And so I'll share that in my members live because most of you guys don't know what I'm talking about. Anyways, good morning, Rosetta. How are you this Monday? So I gathered us here today in this congregation of saints because I believe that I read on the situation in Texas, but I believe someone asked me to look into it in relation to a specific young lady that passed away in Texas and was found in the Bayou. And I'm not sure, I think I did read that I saw that there was a serial killer, but the outcome, oh, what is that you just sent me? That was so cute. Thank you for that, Rosetta. That was so cute. Um, However, I decided to give it its own um, video. Um, so that anybody who wants to look into it from my gifts perspective can have a reference. They don't have to sit through a live where I kind of read it after I read another topic. So there have been recently quite a few bodies that have been found in the bayous of Texas. And I'm not sure if it is a specific location or if it's just random bayous in Texas. Um, Nevertheless, it has become a bigger conversation just because of the amount and the frequency of the bodies that have been found in the bayous in Texas. And I believe the areas that they've been found are not too far away from each other for people to feel like it's not a coincidence. in my opinion, just the sheer amount and the frequency of bodies that have been popping up, or at least that have been coming out publicly, because we don't know if they have been, you know, targeting that area or looking into this specific situation before it became public and it's just now becoming public. But one can assume that rather it has been something that the authorities in Texas have been looking into before it became public or not. Since it has become public and it's been so many, it's still enough of a reason to cause concern. Happy Monday, February. February Christina, that's a nice name, and I'm doing well. How are you? Rosetta, you're just now hearing about this? Let me pull up an article on Google. Bodies found, and I only have to type in almost found, and it pops right up. Found in Bayous, bodies found in Houston Bayous 2025. So it is a thing, but I'll just go into the one that says bodies found in Houston Bayous 2025. JG says, and I'll pin your comment since you said you're in Texas. JG says, I'm in Houston. The authorities are downplaying it. Thank you for looking into this. You're absolutely welcome. Look, this KHOU, 53 bodies have been found in Houston Bayou since 2023. That's a lot of motherfucking bodies. I'm going to click on that article. The manner of death in nearly half of the cases is still undetermined. I kind of doubt that simply because I looked into this before briefly in another reading, and I questioned the authorities' relationship with medical examiners and the coroners. The relationship between them made me pause because of some things that I saw, and I believe that there's an intimate relationship with the way information is disseminated between the two, and how it's handled between the two, from the examiner back to the authorities, and then the authorities to the public, or even to their official records. And I also saw a kind of desire to downplay. And the last time I looked into this, I did see a desire to downplay it and make it seem like it's not a thing. The problem is they're popping up too frequently. And you say cartel bodies, that could be a possibility, just because, based on my opinion from the last time I read this, the desire to downplay it could mean that the bodies that are popping up is so overwhelming that even the authorities can't successfully downplay it, meaning they can't contain it, they can't control the situation. That has to be the case, but either way, there is an issue there that may be beyond their control that is a concern. So this article from KHOU 11, it was published October 10th of this year, and it's reporting from Houston. With rumors swirling about bodies being found in Houston Bayous, KHOU 11 investigates decided to take a closer look at the numbers. The team went through the last 3 years' worth of data and analyzed the cause and manner of death for each body found in bayous within Houston city limits. The data originated from the Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences, the medical examiner's office. The numbers show annual increases in the last 3 years. In 2023, 9 bodies found. 2024, 20 bodies found. 2025, so far, 24 bodies found. The manner of death in 2023 cases is still undetermined. I'm doing this whenever I put a red flag or a notation next to something, meaning it's not possible to establish the circumstances of death with reasonable medical certainty. I don't believe that. From a medium's perspective and from an oracle's perspective, so, someone with second sight, or I like to say first sight, I don't believe that. I believe that they do see a trend in some cases, not all, but in some cases. Absolutely, number 4, MK 1-2, 1.5. The medical examiner's office ruled 15 cases an accident, 13 of which were due to drowning. 9 cases are still pending. 3 were ruled suicide and 3 were ruled homicide. Houston police made arrests in 2 of the homicide cases, and the 3rd case remains under investigation. Now, the next part of the article goes to rumors and speculation, but I won't read that because we're kind of doing that here according to, what facts have to say. I am a medium, so I technically am not speaking facts, but as far as I'm concerned, absolutely. All right. So that's what KHOU 11, I suppose from Houston, has to say. 2 days ago, oh, that's from 4 days ago from the Houston Chronicle. 3 more people identified in latest medical examiner's records. So they're not saying they found anyone new. They're just saying that some of the bodies that they found this year, they recently identified. It says as early as September 15th, I believe a body was recovered in Bayou. All right. Well, let's see. Most High Mother and Father God, thank you for this Monday. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm sorry, I'm getting my vision aligned. Please allow me to look into this situation with these bodies found in Houston bayous, or the increase in bodies found in Houston bayous. What is the cause? You feel pretty safe when in Texas. New Mexico gives you creepy serial killer vibes. No need to thank me, break the cycle. New Mexico. I wonder how far. Okay. How far is New Mexico from Texas? Oh, it's on the border. Right next door. Okay. Hey, thank you. That's cute. Thank you for the latte, Miss Thompson. That's cute. Yes, my nose is in my nose. Thank you for acknowledging that. How you been? I haven't seen you in a long time. Okay, so they share a border. All right. Spirit, please allow me to see into the uprising of bodies found in the bayous of Houston. Is it a coincidence? Nothing to really, for people to really be alarmed about just because it's just a thing? You know, some people go there on their own, some people accidentally, like they said, are the reports true at least? I actually think they kind of are overwhelmed with the amounts of bodies that they're finding out there. And I don't know if there's a difficulty in, I'm not sure if this is a reluctance or a difficulty in getting to the bottom of things because they just keep popping up so quickly. I actually think New Mexico might. Are there cartels in New Mexico? Mm, I honestly don't think the cartel has anything to do with this. I think they would have been very happy to say that if it was, even if they suspected that. I think they would have quickly said that. I think there's one person responsible for the majority of them. I think they'll come up with another one soon, somebody young. And I'm curious about the trend in ages of the people that they find. Let me see if I can find anything on the ages. Are most of the people they find under 30? Does anybody know? some 50 plus year olds, some youngins. All right, it says at least 22 bodies have been recovered from Texas bayous in 2025, the victims ranging in age from 14 to 69. The majority of the recoveries have occurred in Texas, in Houston, actually. 19 were male and 3 were female. '20s to '60s. I'm curious of how many were within that range were between 20 and 30. Mm. All right. And this is the outcome. Um, all right. I'm going to give a profile based on what I see. Since they say that the majority, at least 21 or 22, that they found this year were males, I'm going to say that it's somebody who probably still deals with women, but I don't want to say down low, but I also think they stopped for a period of time too, because the authorities might have gotten a little close. I think a tip might have come in before that might have been close, but it wasn't acted upon. Um, um, I think it's like one of the, I don't want to say textbook serial killers, but I do think that they might um, have some weird relationship with women and men. And I think that they may like to approach straight men, probably. I think the turning down is the issue of straight men. Like if a straight man turns them down, I think that's the issue. And I do think that they don't live in Houston. And I believe that they will continue. New Mexico, maybe. I believe that they deal with women, and the women probably the ones that stick around dealing with this person probably overlook certain things. But I think most of the women they end up dealing with probably end up thinking something's weird about them, probably pick up on their gaydar or something. And then the other women, I think some kind of overlook a lot of things. Like a down low man that likes to go after straight men. It's what I feel. It's what I see. Rosetta. Now, who said that? The problem is the second time I said I saw them continuing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem. Now, Rosetta, well, I'm not saying that I agree with the person that you brought up, but the profile actually fits somebody like that. Yep. Actually, yes. Yeah. Not saying yeah to him specifically, but yeah. And that may be the issue with the authorities being able to tie it together because it's not like a bunch of gay men are popping up. It could have been, they did say that 21 or 22 of the victims found this year were males, but if none of them are gay, it's harder to pick up on the trend. It'd be easy if the majority of them were gay because then they can say, okay, somebody's out here knocking off gay males. But it could be hard to miss if they're all straight, have girlfriends, wives, or, something like that, or, something like that. But it's what I see. Even if I were to call with this tip anonymously, they would, I don't think they would know where to begin. Although I do think somebody called in a tip before. It might have been a woman, might have said something about a guy. I don't think it was looked into. 5 bodies were recovered from the Bayou in the week from September 15th. 5 in 1 week. And I don't think they just got there. I just think that they just start uncovering them, which is why you can easily believe that they too might believe it's a serial killer. You're in Houston, loving Lisa. What does it feel like out there? Number 4, I think Rosetta was being funny. I don't think she meant she really, really, really thinks it's him. But when I described the person, I think she probably just thought of him. And kind of, yes, somebody like that, allegedly. How does it feel in Texas? How does it feel in Houston? Somebody said they feel safe in Texas, just not in New Mexico. This poor man can't catch a break. Nobody would be coming for him like this if he wasn't in a relationship that he was to have the type of attention. Poor guy. He can't even thug in peace now. Because now everybody knows his business. But yes, I do feel like somebody like that, somebody that deals with women, but I don't know. I think they're down low. I think there's some kind of repression going on. And I think they approach straight men. And I think when they get turned down, it turns into something else. Because, you know, a straight man, when they get approached by a gay man, but they're straight, some of them ain't always nice about it. Like, hey, bro, you know, I understand, but it's cool. No problem. I'm just straight. No, we're talking about Houston or Austin, maybe, because I don't think the person, I don't know if they hunt exclusively from Texas. That's kind of, I don't think they hunt in their location. And I think it's because they're down low. So I don't think they hunt in their location. I think they hunt maybe in Texas or maybe just drop them in Texas somewhere that's not in the town that they live. But I think, you know, when some of the straight guys are like, hell nah, bro, what the fuck you doing? Nah, you know, I think it may get risky. The ones who turn you down respectfully, they're probably not going to out you or, you know, make a big deal or fuss about it. But a gay man who be like, hell nah, man, the fuck you doing with that, man? You supposed to be straight. What you doing, nigga? Now, if they see you somewhere, man, that's that, you know, gay ass nigga right there. Hey, Bakia. I just love that name. Y'all be having some really pretty names. Fly Divine Star. Did you upgrade your name from Fly God? Is that you? Player from the Himalayas. I see. I like the upgrade. Fly Divine Star. I love the evolution. You straight man in Houston, be careful, or in other areas too. Because there's a down low man out there who's waiting to try to get you, in my opinion. And depending on how that goes, who knows? I had the Knight of Swords in reverse for the challenging position. Why? Look at the bayous of Houston. And that's them standing over the bodies that just, now they just said 3 of those bodies were recently identified. this is the issue here. I do think that there's one person solely responsible for a large number of the bodies that were found. I think some of them may have been reported missing. I think there's a woman out there who has heavy suspicions about someone. I also think there's a woman that is protecting him, either directly or indirectly. I think there's a woman who has information that can change everything. And I think it's a mom, not a wife, but a mother. hmm hmm A mother who knows her son, but will completely just, mm-mm, 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 refuse to. But maybe an ex-girlfriend of this man or something, a woman that he dealt with, she, I think, tried to tip off the authorities. But I think a mother could call the authorities, give them some information about her son, and they could wrap this up. hmm I think so. I think the person responsible will be responsible for another one, and I think they'll find another body soon, unfortunately. But those are just my opinions. All right. This is the second time I don't see that happening, Rosetta. It could in the future at some point, but this is the second time I've seen an outcome of continuance. Not just a near future, but an outcome. So I think if it did, it'd be a long time in the future. Hello, Victor. All right, well, this wasn't supposed to be a long shenanigan. I just want to step in while I have some time. But I'm going to come back tonight. Yes, I agree. Number 4, I agree. And I agree because I saw the 3 of Cups, and that gives me bars, hanging out somewhere, lounges, something like that. This person wouldn't just approach a man in the grocery store. He'd do it in a social setting, though, when people are more relaxed and open to being themselves. Problem is, I think he has a thing for straight men. And I think he presents as a straight man himself. I also think that there is a potential for some bodies to have been from someone else. Not these that I'm talking about now, the recent ones, because the authorities said a lot of them were males. But I think that there's a potential for someone else to have let off a couple of rounds, meaning somewhere between 1 or 2 and 5. Somebody that may have put a couple out there but may not be considered a serial killer, but may be responsible for a couple, if that makes sense. I think in the midst of those 20 something bodies that have been recovered out there from 2023, a majority of them are from the person that I just read about. And then maybe 2 to 5 are from someone else. And then the other ones may really just be drownings, and things like that. But I do think the majority of them can be claimed by 1 or 2 people. And I think the one that's presently active is a white male. I don't know if the majority of the bodies that they found out there were black men. I think it's a white male with some means. Thank you, Frank. I think they aren't broke. I think they have some means about them. The Texas killing fields, what's that? I don't think that the man is significantly old, but not young. I think that he's somewhere between early 40s to mid 50s. I think he's, some would say that he's attractive, well groomed. I think he smells good, like he's well groomed, so he might be considered attractive. I think he comes across very masculine, you know, and maybe very attractive to women until they start dealing with him and pick up on certain things. And I think some women overlook it, maybe because of his means and his attractiveness. And women have a way of convincing themselves, that something isn't what it is. And I think some women who might have experienced him a little more are like, nah, something ain't right with him. I think some women are like, I think he's gay. I think he's something. I think a specific woman has picked up on his tea and clocked it, or is at least heavily suspicious of him, and has probably tried to drop a hint to authorities. But I think his mother probably has has hard concrete reasons to put 2 and 2 together and get 4 about her son. I think she probably would have already suspected that he was gay from early on. And I think she never wants to discuss it with him because he doesn't present himself that way. She may have been able to pick up on certain things in his interactions with his friends, even early on with his straight friends. And she may have probably picked up, my son is gay. Why doesn't he go and date a man? But she probably noticed the way he noticed his straight friends growing up. And because he chooses to date women, a woman would say, with a down low son who she knows is really gay, she would know that she has a down low son. But I don't think she brings it up because he doesn't. I think she would probably feel like it's uncomfortable for him. And then I think that there are other reasons that she may suspect that her son might be a little off, but overlooks it. I think the authorities are going to have a hard time, and I think that they don't want it to be a serial killer. And that negligence, I think, is what is going to step them up because of all the resources it would take to get to the bottom of it. And they don't take it seriously because they can't find a trend other than the fact that it's a lot of men. But I do think the other trend is the cause of death of some of them. And I don't think that they're undetermined. I think, and that's where I saw the relationship between the authorities and the medical examiner. And it could be that they're keeping that private and saying that it's undetermined so that they can continue to try to investigate. But it's, I think that they know that it's not determined, but they are withholding that. I could see a truck driver. I could see that. But I think when they hang out, they present themselves very well. I'll ask specifically if it's a truck driver. I'll ask for a profile of of the person who's responsible for the bulk of these. Most High, I don't know the name of the person responsible for the bulk of those bodies found in the bayou, but you do. You know who they are. May I see them from their spirit, soul, and collective energies perspective and see how they will continue to operate unawares. Now, if I'm wrong and it truly is random, then the outcome should be the Five of Wands or maybe even the Five of Swords, because that'll tell me it's a bunch of people dumping them out there in the future. All right. I do think it's a serial killer. I do think that this person has a something psychological going on, and obviously anybody who can do this multiple times, there is an imbalance, so to speak, in the wiring of this person. I never say crazy because Even these type of people have a reasoning for how they operate. It's logical to them. It may not be logical to us, but to them. Now, somebody who says, I don't know, I black out and then this just happens and I hate it. That's different. I still don't call them crazy, but that's different. If I had to call anybody crazy, it would be them. This is somebody who has a reasoning behind it. There's a method to their madness. Again, I do think that it's someone who kind of has more of an affinity for the opposite sex, brown men. And it's easier to be a serial killer and prey on brown people, period, men or women or children, because it's more likely for them to go unnoticed, unsolved. I think the other person, though, is white. This is them. This is the type of person that they prefer. I'm not saying they exclusively, but they prefer. And then this is when their devious acts creep in. So at some point between the person and the victim, it doesn't start out a certain way, but then their nature creeps in, and then they end up in the bayous. I want to say that they do their dumping sometime between midnight and before the sun comes up. So between midnight and maybe I'll say 6 a.m. I know the sun usually rises around 7:30 in the morning, but I'll say between midnight and 6 a.m. is when they do their dumping. Again, this is them in the bayou, being the alchemist, taking someone from the land of the living and ushering them into their watery grave, unalived. I wouldn't be surprised if there is a chemical involved in how they operate, a drug, a poison, something. The angel of death, though. This is a serial killer with a method to their madness. They're very calm and serene about it. It's not somebody that just freaks out every time it happens. They're good at it. I don't think it's a truck driver. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. I think they grew up different. I think they grew up different. And again, I think their mother or a parent figure knew a long time ago, but kept applying grace and silence. I think there's always been something off between this person and their relationships with women, but they pursue relationships with women. But a man who has a thing for something else, they're always going to have some sort of weird relationship with women because there's something else there that even when you try to hide, your nature will find a way to rear its head out. Even if you squash it back down before you have a full on show of yourself, and some women will be able to see it. Some women who are more astute, intuitive, or some that just pay attention to red flags and don't choose to write them off. Again, here's them in the near future doing their thing. Y'all are really set on this man being the culprit. Y'all dig into his whereabouts and let me know. And if y'all come up with anything substantial, then I'll read on it. Deal? In the near future, though, they'll do their thing. They will present themselves to someone. And how that person responds, and I think that's the reason this person may attract straight men, so that they can have a victim. If they approach gay men, then they might not ever get the opportunity to do this because the gay man is going to want to bite back. A straight man, though, something about that. Interesting. Now, here's the aim. Men that do not want them. Men that don't want them back. Because this is the person saying, hey, or hey, I mean, what's going on, bro? But this is a man that he knows is going to say, fuck no, I don't take wand. Could be a brown man. I know you guys are laughing at me. So they can kill him. Hey, bro. What's up? In the most straight gay way. The fuck? Did someone say you want to die? It's weird. Again, I also think that people should pay attention to things that they drink too. Second, third cup here. It's more than just the emotion. I don't know. Some men he may have to tranquilize. This person sees themselves as the magician. Someone who comes up with acts and then disappears. As above, so below. And I don't know if there is a certain way they do it. I think they have a preference of the way they do it or of the tools that they use to get it done. So there is definitely a method to their madness, but I do think that this person, ironically, some studies say that most serial killers are Geminis or Scorpios, and this is a Gemini card. I didn't make that up. Let me, common zodiac sign for serial killers. Oh, well, I could be wrong. Well, Jeffrey Dahmer was a Gemini. Actually, Pisces shows up often. Cancer, Sag, Scorpio. Somewhere I read Gemini was on the list, though. It was a long time ago. Anyways, this person sees themselves as someone who does their thing and gets away with it. Like a magician, like doing magic tricks. And most people agree. I can see how a Virgo can be a serial killer, but Virgos are ruled by Gemini, by Mercury. So Now, one of them I don't think is active. I just think that I can't explain them, but I think they may have one or two, but I wouldn't consider one person active. One person is. This tells me that the people who believe that there's a serial killer, the serial killer acknowledges that people are saying there's a serial killer, and they're like, it is. 'Tis I. And the people see a serial killer being able to successfully do what they're doing because the authorities aren't even saying that it's a serial killer. But the person is saying, aha, 'tis true, 'tis I. In their hopes and fears and what's not going to happen, getting caught, getting charged for anything. This is my third time reading this serial killer in the bayous and seeing them not getting caught. I can't see it any other way. Outcome, being fully responsible, but not getting seen as being responsible. Just now, the first time I read it, when I said there's one person fully responsible, it was because of this upright. Here he is again, and it's a person, but not being held accountable. The King of Pentacles is the most dependable, responsible, and accountable for their kingdom. Not in reverse, though. There's a woman who participates in him not being accountable. Could be a wife here. So this person could be married, and I think the women that surround him the most intimately might have various suspicions. I mean, look at him not being held accountable. There is a woman that could crack the case. But since she's behind his lack of accountability, she won't. There's a woman who I believe have tried. She may have tried and then went on about her business and got just away from the situation. She may have tried to report and let the police handle the rest and then got far away from the situation. And I think she's aware of his mother, the way his mother coddles him. If the authorities were to have followed up, they would have been able to prove him responsible for quite a few of the bodies they found. Now, this not happening in his hopes and fears will tell me why the authorities won't. It's like, I don't want to say a lack of evidence, but they're having a problem putting the clues together. Some of them, very little of them, they can attribute to just being random. Thank you, Black Tri Wildlife. Maybe one or two or a few, just a handful they can attribute to being random. But they are aware of the commonality behind the rest. Now, they may just spend all their time and resources that they are allotted in trying to figure out without being able to figure it out, and then it becoming a cold case situation, an unsolved situation. I see a mixture of reasons here why they won't. One of them is resources. Again, they may just work with the resources they have, and then once they come up with nothing, they'll stop. They have not told the public everything. They have kept some things back so that they can try to figure it out. I'm not dealing with number 4. I'm not. Let me look into this person's near future. It starts with some sort of nice introduction, but then it goes to this. And this isn't even really anger. This is, it's reckless violence. And then remember, this was in the near future the first time I was reading the situation itself, and I said in the near future they're going to find another one. It's also in his near future. There will be another body in the bayou and I want to say that at least one of the victims that they just announced the names of is his. If not all 3, at least one. I think it takes a woman around him a lot of strength to be deaf, dumb, and blind. I don't think it's easy for that person, not saying conscious wise. I don't think it's like they're struggling because they feel bad for the victims. I think they're struggling because they know that it could be their significant other and they just don't want it to be. Is someone who makes a poor husband or a poor candidate for a husband. If you're really honest with yourself, if you date him, then you know that he'd be a terrible husband. He's a terrible partner. Let me clarify this, because this is how he sees himself. He sees himself as, I think he has a God complex at this point because he keeps getting away with it and it's public. Those bodies that they're finding, I don't know if all of them are fresh, but I do think that there are periods in between his activity. And I think if they find a body in the near future, it won't be something that was just done within 24 hours of them finding it. I think he approaches people in a sort of romantic way. I also think he may stalk a little bit. Not all the time, But sometimes I think that he stalks his prey. There's a way he checks them out. Could be social media. Let me clarify the hangman. He's about to do it again. That hangman is a period of suspension in between either his actions or his actions and them being recovered. I think he gets emboldened every time it comes out that the authorities aren't calling it a serial killer. I think that only makes him more confident. Unfortunately, I think that this person could also be privy to some sort of investigative information. He has a leg to stand on, and it seems like for some reason he may be privy to something that the authorities know that they're not even telling the public. He could have someone in his family or an intimate relationship with someone in the know. Possibly. Could have been questioned, possibly. Or somebody, now, somebody I think reported him to the police, a victim that got away. Somebody that says something about them trying to hold them or in their car, in his car, not let them out of his car or something like that, snatch them and put the. I think somebody said something about him not letting them out of the car and things went left. And somebody may have reported it. And I think it may not have been taken seriously because of the man who it was reported about. I think he has some sort, he, I don't know if his family, something about his family or his community here. Again, he has some sort of stature about himself. I think this man is married. I think he's married. He has a family, like and maybe even some sort of name and reputation, some sort of status. It's like he has his mother, his wife, kids, good career, all of that. And he may even have some sort of name or status, a way that people would know him, a way that he might be respected in some way. And I think maybe a report or allegation could be a politician, that King of Cups. I don't know, something like that, pastor, something like that. And I think somebody may have made a report about him before and it wasn't checked out because of who he is. They may have questioned him about it at some point and he was able to just, hogwash it. And so did the authorities. And I think they missed their opportunity to really look into whatever claim about this person was made. So I don't think that he's been questioned about the bodies that are found, but I do think he's been questioned about something that should have been taken seriously and wasn't, because of the person probably, or just because of who he is. There was no reason for the authorities to really take it any further. Unfortunately, I'll say again for the final time and in closing, I do think that this man will continue. Unfortunately, I don't think that he will ever be held accountable for what he's done. His outcome was the King of Pentacles in reverse. That's a lack of accountability for someone that is fully responsible, a king. I do think he'll age out of being active, but I don't know when. I think he'll be able to retire as retire his serial killing hat and not have to retire it because he got caught. Unfortunately. So my advice is to just stay safe, keep your head on the swivel, and I don't know, y'all already packing out there, so I don't need to tell y'all to keep that thing on you. But it's something about the way he's interacting with the people is what is the kicker. So you guys, if you're straight or even if you're gay, be careful if you're a man. I don't think women really have a lot of concern with this person other than the fact that he don't really want you, but he's still going to be dealing with you and he could be abusive at some point. Down low men, they could be abusive. They have a lot of resentment and pent up, anger, issues, and frustrations. Let me look into his psyche because that's the one thing I didn't look into, that moon in reverse. It's also the way he operates. The moon in reverse. Show me the moon in reverse. Clarify the moon in reverse. And then I'll be out of here until about 6. Why was the moon in reverse in this person's present position? Well, for one, there's an awareness. Most people believe that there is one person responsible for these killings, even if the authorities don't publicly say it. So even he's aware that we're aware that he's on the loose. And what he doesn't know is that he isn't going to be charged, but there's an opportunity on the table. Now, I see in his future it not coming, but he doesn't see that in his future. So he'll pause for a minute. But what they find might be something that he already did. Why? What is the reasoning behind what this person does? Interestingly enough, no, this is a pause. This isn't jail. Jail would be the Eight of Swords. This is a pause. This is a gardener taking a pause to look over their work and then plan if they need to do more. Not jail. That's why I said a pause. You see, the gardener isn't active right now. They took a pause because their attention and everybody else's attention, their focus is on his garden here, the collection of bodies that they found. When I said why, the miser came up. Now, this person has a grudge, a chip on their shoulder, on their lap, and on their mind. And because of that chip that they carry is the cause for the bodies that they bury. They have a chip on their shoulder. I think that this person lives a lie. And I think the lie is that they have to present themselves as straight. I think he's sexually and emotionally unfulfilled behind the chip on his shoulder. And then I think he finds reasons and ways to take that out on others. It's his logic. I do think he lives a lie. Now, how did this person keep showing up? Spirit, is that Three of Pentacles? Is that a church or the authorities? Is it their job? This person has inside information to the investigation some way. It's not even about them being questioned before. They are privy some way to information that the authorities would know. I also think that their issue is that they have to present as straight when they're really gay. And they're responsible. And someone has mentioned, now they could have a wife, mother, sister, or somebody that's in the know, that may just chat small talk with their intimate circle about their job and their relation to the case. Mm-hmm. 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 I do. I don't think a bouncer. I don't think a bouncer. I think the man is also probably has a really good career, really good reputation, and his wife or mother or sister or somebody like that does too. Not a bouncer. He he'd run the club if anything, if it was a club. Mm-mm. It's another reason he will not be held accountable. This man has inside information, and I think it comes from a woman around him. And that's what I got. Spirit, let me ask one more thing. For any potential people in the vicinity of this person, what is one card of actionable advice that you can give to anyone that is in the area of, you know, potential for the person to encounter them? Advice, insight, anything. If you turn someone down and they become aggressive, a man that identifies as straight, and he either hits on you, offers you a drink, offers you something, if he appe- if a if you're take seriously if a DL man approaches you and gets aggressive or angry when you turn them down. Take it seriously. Take that as your first sign. And I mean, if you say no and they get angry, aggressive, want to argue, the men who didn't take that serious enough are the ones who did not escape. Something about his job and his career makes him unassuming. People wouldn't expect it. I do see that he scouts on some sort of social scene or social setting. Again, I don't believe he lives where he scouts. He goes out of town. All right, that's that. See you guys later. Have a good afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your days at work. If you guys join me when you get off, we'll see you when you get off and have a drink. Love you.